Welcome to another episode of Eric's Camping Adventures. This morning I want to tell you about our trip in Rocky Mountain National Park. We set up at Glacier Basin Campground, and we kind of used it as a base camp for lots of different activities. The Glacier Basin Campground is west of Boulder. It would be southwest of Estes Park, and lots of activities around Glacier Basin that you can access that make it a little bit more desirable from the perspective of what I was interested in. So when I chose a campground, Glacier Basin was pretty much perfect for what I was looking for. There may be other campgrounds that work for things that you're interested in, but for me, Glacier Basin was perfect, and it was just kind of a no-brainer for the things that I was interested in. First thing I want to do in the video is just give you a little walk around with my setup that we had at the campground, because I'm going to tell you, we got a lot of attention from other people around the campground. They just kept coming and said, "Man, you've been doing this a while. Well, you know what you're doing." And I'm just going to kind of give you a little walk around about how I set up and why I set it up that way, and maybe I'll give you some ideas. If you got some ideas for me to make things easier, you got comments in the bottom of the video, you can help me out. First of all, we pulled the overlanding trailer behind my little Subaru, and we unfolded that tent and set up the annex on the back of it, and opened up the rooftop tent, and that's our sleeping quarters, and kind of a little bit of a maybe a little place for a respite if you're tired during the day. But we set up our cooking area with a screened in kind of those little opening up awnings, and we set it up in there under a screened canopy, kept the bugs out. We had a propane fire pit every cold morning and every cold evening that came out really nice. You know, the screened in netting just had enough ability to slow down the air coming through, that underneath the top of the canopy, that the propane fire pit was perfect. It wasn't really a kind of an easy type deal. It actually created some other obstacles for us to bring the propane fire pit, but in the big picture, it's a good idea because basically we were on a fire ban in the national forest, and we weren't sure what we were going to find when we got to Glacier Basin. We ended up emptying out the back of the car, and we found that the fire pit fit perfect where the spare tire went. So we actually just kind of patted the metal in the spare tire pit, put the fire pit down in there, and moved the spare tire to a roof rack on top. I'm not delusional about the capabilities of a Subaru Impreza, but it sure fit to move that little tire up on top and put the propane fire pit right where the spare tire went. So it was a pretty cool setup. That was a great place to make coffee in the morning, behind that little awning with the screened in area with the propane fire pit just kind of warming up. It was great. So a little bit more about Glacier Basin. It is a front country campsite. It's not a backcountry campsite. It's front country. There's lots of people there. But I have to remind you that even though there's lots of people, it's a wild area. And keep your distance from wildlife, whether it's an elk. We didn't see any moose there, but there's bears that frequent that area. So definitely want to keep your distance from wildlife. Remember, it's wild. It's not tame. Its response to you is not that of a domesticated animal. It is a wild animal. and it can perceive you as a threat and do the flight fight thing anytime it wants. So just be aware of that. Glacier Basin was a base camp for our activities. And at Glacier Basin, you've got just a real scenic campground. You've got mountains around. It's pretty cool. Beautiful sunsets. From Glacier Basin, you can actually walk to a site where you can, a livery where you can get on a horse and do some horseback riding. There's fly fishing both in Glacier Creek and at Sprague Lake. There's access to lots of sites for backcountry camping. You're in the Bear Lake area, and you can either drive up the road 10 minutes or you can hop on the park and ride. Of course, there's Estes Park not too far away. You can always go there, step off a sidewalk, and sprain your ankle. But just back to the campground, man, it is really beautiful. There is just like this beautiful meadow at the edge of the campground that overlooks somewhat the group campgrounds that were closed because of the pandemic, but it overlooks just this beautiful area that backdrops against some conifers, and then just a mountain scenery behind it. There's Long's Peak up in there. It's the highest mountain in Rocky Mountain National Park. It's, I think, the only 14er in the park. And let me tell you, the sunsets were just a beautiful, beautiful thing there. There was lots of reflection off of the mountains that were behind the campground. Long's Peak would light up last because it was the highest, and it would just kind of glow in the night. But there was, you'd have your sunset off to the one side and the mountains off to the other. It was just a real, it was pretty. Nice campground. You can't beat it for the views. There may be others that are good too, but I really had an appreciation for it. Every time I went outside my camp setup, I was just surrounded by beauty. Last thing is the culture of the campground. It was really good. The hosts there, they were kind and welcoming. They were friendly. There were people who did things they shouldn't be doing, especially with leaving food and cook stoves out and coolers out, and they would just come by, give you a little notice, and let you know. But if there's a chronic problem, then they'd kind of send the rangers over to, straighten you out. I don't know exactly how they did it, but I do know that they would give citations, but they weren't like a fine or anything like that. They were just helpful, educating people about the backcountry or the front country with bears being around. So you just have to be careful of that. Within probably 0.8 miles or 0.7 miles, there's two separate trails that run from Glacier Basin to Sprague Lake. And between Glacier Basin Campground and Sprague Lake, there's lots of wildlife viewing. In the evenings, there's some elk that we saw, some white-tailed deer. At Sprague Lake, someone said there was a moose that was there. We didn't get to see it. But you can walk around the lake. It's actually a ADA lake, so you can pretty much get around that lake. It's nice and level. There's a ADA backcountry site that you can access right off of the trail at Sprague Lake. There's some fly fishing that goes on too at Sprague Lake, but I was pretty tired, and I just didn't want to get up early, and I didn't want to stay up late. I was pretty tired by the time I got there, just from work, and I needed the rest more than I needed to fly fish. So I actually never cast one single fly out on the lake, and I had wanted to. It seems like a lot of people did do that, but they did it in the heat of the day. So we would go by Sprague Lake on a hike, a day hike, or when we did our backcountry site, and there's lots of people fishing. They all testified that they had caught a big trout, but I never saw a trout. I never saw a pole bent or someone fighting a fish at all. They were all fishing in the heat of the day, so I think they probably weren't catching everything they were saying. From Glacier Basin, There is a lot of backcountry camping that you can access. There's multiple sites. One of those is just over the hill. Um, Backcountry campsite. There is Wind River Bluff, and then there is Upper Wind River. We chose to go to the Boulder Brook campsite, and it's about a little more than halfway to Long's Peak, and we slept out in the quiet. Frankly, we chose that one simply because there was nothing else that was available, and they allowed us to stay in the group site. So in order to do that, you have to go to the wilderness office, snag a permit, pay your fee, and then head out into the backcountry. Always good to let other people know when they expect you back. We did that with our campground hosts. They were just super friendly. We just told them, hey, we're going to head out for a night to Boulder Brook. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. And they actually kept an eye on our campsite, and there was no problems or anything like that. We had a good time. From the Glacier Basin area, you can also access the Bear Lake area. And we did some hiking there. We did some day hikes from there and walked around Bear Lake and took some pictures, but it's a pretty busy area. In the Glacier Basin camp area, you actually could just walk down the driveway, cross Bear Lake Road, and there is the park and ride, so you can get onto the park and ride. From Glacier Basin, you can also access Estes Park for restaurants, for outfitters, for shopping. Glacier Basin was a great spot to begin our vacation. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Hope that information about the Glacier Basin Campground was helpful to you. We found it was a great place to get outdoors, enjoy the mountain air, enjoy a lot of mountain scenery, and take in the views around us, find some solitude on some day hikes and camping. It was a good time. Hope the video was helpful. Come back and watch some more.